Built in 1758 by the Moravians, the Sun Inn was well known in its time for its excellent food, hospitality, and accommodations. Today, the Sun Inn offers a taste of the past with outstanding food from the tavern at the Sun Inn and liquor from Christmas City Spirits. But there's another spirit that dwells here, because some guests have never left.
And so on this episode, we're going to take a look at two examples of what bad paranormal research looks like. Join me.
Now we got nothing.
No, we have nothing.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Ask a Paranormal Investigator. My name is Matt, and I'm a paranormal investigator that you can ask stuff at too. Anyway, this episode is going to be an interesting one. I had several different ideas planned for this episode, but then on May 15th, WFMZ TV aired a segment about a group called Ghost Encounters at the Sun Inn in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Now, of course, this is all about an investigation they did into tracking down a ghost based on some very interesting evidence.
What brought me here was a phone call from David Zukal. David said he had a photo from the Sun Inn that has haunted him for years. In 2017, he took a photo of the main dining area and thought there was a painting on the far wall. However, after his return 2 years later, he noticed there was no painting and that the faces he saw were in a mirror looking into the other side. You can see people dressed in colonial clothing, a man dancing with a woman, and an old lady staring at a blazing fireplace.
Now, when you look at this photo, for one, the guy said that it had been several years previous that he had taken the photo. We don't know any of the circumstances involving that. We don't know if this area was still closed off. It appears like it was, but there are a number of ways, both from misunderstandings and flat out hoaxes on how this image could have been done. Now, I'm going to let you guys tell me how you think it was done down in the comments, because you've probably seen enough of my episodes to have that part figured out. But I don't think it's a ghost. But anyway, they proceed to do this all-out heavy investigation. And one of the things they bring out is a thermal camera. Oh, I love me some thermal camera.
I decide to take out my thermal camera and see if I can capture anything. After reviewing, I notice my thermal camera glitches and pauses for 2 seconds. And within the 2 seconds, you can see the outline of a head and face.
So as you know, what he sees here is our little friend Pareidolia. Absolutely, it was not an actual face of a ghost. And those things, they don't glitch really. They flicker a little bit now and then. So yeah, you're going to get artifacting, and that's what that was. It was an artifact, very normal. But I don't know why he didn't point to this or to this in that same series of strange events. Now, of course, they run through doing some EVPs and stuff like that. You guys know how I feel about EVPs. They also use a K2 meter to get some great readings. And you know how I feel about that as well. K2 meters don't detect ghosts. But let's look at what happens when they use the thermal camera again.
All right, I'm gonna see if I can get anything on the thermal. Nothing over there. In my thermal camera, you can see Bree sitting in a chair, and as I scan over, you can clearly see a figure in the distance.
Now, it's pretty creepy that they see that ghost standing there. But if they had taken the time to learn about their equipment, they might have seen something a little different. Now, I myself have actually become certified to understand this equipment by the manufacturers of this equipment. So yes, I actually took a course with FLIR and with Bullard and ITC and different companies, so I could understand a little bit about thermal imaging. Now, one of the things to know is that images are very, very difficult to interpret when you're looking at these things. So you don't always understand exactly what you're looking at. And in fact, a lot of these different companies and everything like to throw out these teasers on their websites to say, guess what this is? And here's one right here. Now it looks like this sort of creeping death of a spirit is oozing itself into the room. But actually, that's a normal room, but when you throw the thermal camera on it, you can see previous water damage that had just been painted over. That's pretty cool. But how about this one? Some people think it might be a casket full of skulls. Been actually told that before. But no, it's just a freezer full of chickens. So it can be hard to determine what it is you're looking at. But one of the most interesting aspects of thermal imaging is that a thermal image can be reflected back to you from almost any surface that's flat. So almost any wall can create a reflection of what it sees in a sense. So here's a picture of a gentleman holding a thermal camera on himself, but he's standing right next to a wall. So the image on the right is the reflection from just a flat wall. It wasn't even a shiny wall. It was just a wall. And then there's him. And in that instance, he's so close to the wall that you can barely tell the difference between the two. Now, if you have some more distance between it, it starts to get a little more grainy, but this guy's seeing a reflection of himself. As you can see, he's holding the camera right about here. And you can clearly see his head, and occasionally it glances down, but you can see his hands. They don't reflect as much as his face does, but you can see the outline of his body. If that were a ghost, wouldn't it do more than just mimic him? So that's one thing you have to think about. You know, if you're videoing a ghost, does it exactly mimic you? Because it might be you. There's a chance it might be you. So let's also think for a moment. If a thermal camera worked at detecting ghosts, first of all, think about it a minute. There are more dead people on Earth than living people. Just let that sink in for a minute. So if a thermal camera picked up ghosts, they would be 100% useless for what they're actually being used for. If you wanted to, use that camera to see if a pipe is too hot to touch, well, a ghost would be getting in the way and ruining the image, so you couldn't tell. Just think about these things a little bit, just a little bit, and you'll realize that thermal cameras should not be used for catching a ghost. Now, they could be used for other things. You know, if you were on say a paranormal investigation and there was a breeze of a ghost, being claimed, well, you might be able to see if a window is leaky simply by putting a thermal camera on it. So these things can be useful, but not for detecting ghosts. Now, one of the great things about this is you don't, because these thermal cameras are expensive, but you don't even need to lay out that kind of money to simply click the like button and subscribe to this channel. It's the truth. I want to thank you guys for joining me on this episode, and come back next time and we'll talk about something else fun. You guys have a good one.